My name's Jenna.
And where do you live?
I live at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. When I was 23 years old, the love of my life was in the middle of a 15-month deployment to Afghanistan. I was a full-time special education teacher. I was the head of a special ed department. I was a full-time master's degree student, and I was working part-time at Ann Taylor. This is what significant others and military spouses do. You know, your love of your life is fighting a war, and so you fill up every nanosecond of your time so that you're not worried. You're not thinking about the things that could happen. And so when I started having episodes of rapid heart rate, I went to my general practitioner and I said, tell me it's stress. I'll go home. I'll take something off my plate. My mom will be happy and we will all move on. And so he said, you know, you're young, you're healthy, you're not overweight, but this EKG is a little bit abnormal. So why don't you go to the cardiologist and get it checked out? And so I did just that. I went to the cardiologist, and when I walked into his office, his nurse asked me if she could help me find where I was going. And so that was, almost 8 years ago, I guess. And within a week of walking into that cardiologist's office, I was told that I was at risk for sudden cardiac death. And it wasn't so scary right at first because you're in heart failure, which sounds terrifying, but they're sending you home on medication. So how bad can it really be? And so it wasn't until somebody told me that I couldn't get pregnant that it really hit me. You know, they said, what's your method of contraception? And I said, my guy's in Iraq. And they said, no, that's not good enough. If you get pregnant, it's going to kill you. And so it was devastating. I remember joking with my mom that I was going to college to get my MRS. Like, I wanted to get married. I wanted to have a family. And so it was devastating. And so after Dan proposed, I had to go back to him and I had to say, I'm not the woman you proposed to. You proposed to a woman who could give you a family, and I can't do that. And so I gave him an out. I, gave him an opportunity to take back his proposal. And as he's done many times since then, he told me I was ridiculous and just moved on. And that's kind of history. I've had a long journey with heart disease. I have a daughter who's almost 4, who is watching me advocate for heart disease and learning how to do it herself. I have a son who's 18 months old who we adopted, and my journey's come all the way through them to the point where I need a heart transplant. And so it's been a long road.
Going from when doctors told you you couldn't get pregnant to having a baby to then knowing how sick you are now to needing a heart transplant, tell me how that has felt and kind of the hope also that you're given with knowing you have a heart coming, but not knowing when that will be.
It definitely has phases. I was telling my husband the other day, I was down at the hospital, and when they put me on the transplant list initially, if I'd have gone down to the hospital for something, a volunteering opportunity, I would have said something to the effect of, well, they should just find a heart while I'm down there because it'll be really convenient. I'll be really annoyed if I get home and have to turn right around and go back. That's kind of your mentality at the beginning. Like, you're very anxious, your bags are packed, you're ready to go. And we're 250 days later, and I'm going down to St. Luke's. God, I hope they call while I'm there. Hell, I don't care if they call right after I set foot in the door and I have to put my butt back in the car and drive back. It's just time. It's emotional. It's hard. A lot of what I've gotten to talk to some women about this day, and a lot of what they say is you can't see it. You can't see that my heart's bigger than it's supposed to be, or that while the normal heart pushes out 55 to 70% of its blood volume, mine only pushes out 14. Nobody sees that my husband gets up every morning and gets my kids up and gets them dressed and gets them fed. And then he sends my daughter into me to wake me up. And she says, good morning, Mommy. It's time to wake up. I don't have time for snuggles. And then you pull her into the bed anyway and you say, but I'm so tired. And she goes, well, I'll go tell Daddy to make you coffee. My house is a wreck. And people say, messy house, happy kids. It's messy house, tired mom. It's exhausting being in heart failure. It is exhausting. If you want to go out to do something, you plan the rest of your day around it. And so it's emotionally draining. The hope of getting a new heart is almost unfathomable. To not have hands and cold feet, or to not have cold hands and feet all the time, to have good circulation, to be able to keep up with my kids, to be able to do more than one outing in a day, to, be able to slip up in your diet, things like that. I'm not afforded those luxuries right now, and I'm kind of excited for them to get here.
Yeah. How have your husband and your kids reacted to Mom being sick and being on the transplant list?
My husband has stepped it up. I mean, he's remarkable. He does everything. He is mom and dad half the time because I can't keep up to do it. My kids know what it's like to have a tired mommy. The 18-month-old, it's a little bit harder to explain to, but my 4-year-old knows there are days where it is a couch kind of day and we're just there and we just hang out. And so, I really hope that through their resiliency and the support that they give me, that once I get this new heart, I can pay it back tenfold. I've been joking with a lot of people that the heart I have now, it's kind of like a toddler. So my brain and my body are ready to go, and my heart is being dragged behind, kicking and screaming. It ruins my sleep, just like a toddler. There are times I lay down and I can't breathe. I have to sleep sitting up. Ruins all meal times, just like a toddler. I have to watch every single thing I eat to make sure that I'm not going to go over my daily sodium count and have my lungs fill with fluid. Having heart disease is like dragging a toddler kicking and screaming. But my new heart is going to be like a new car. I'm going to keep it pristinely clean. I can't wait to show it off to everybody. And I can't wait to get to the point where I can kind of push the limits and see what it can do. Dan's been in the Army for over 10 years. And so exercise is a part of his personal life. It's a part of his job. And right now I can walk. And so I'm hoping one day that I can run with my husband and be the active family that I want us to be.
That's great. That's great. What does Jenna's future look like with her new heart?
Busy. I'm a pretty busy person now. And so I want to be busy. I want to be advocating. My newest goal comes from being listed as a heart transplant patient or recipient. I've always been an organ donor. That was an easy box for me to check at the DMV. It didn't really bother me much. But now I look at motorcyclists riding around without helmets and go, I wonder if he's an organ donor. I look at friends that have been on the transplant list waiting for a heart for 13 months. And I have to wonder, is she going to make it until they find the one that's going to fit her? I think about that for me. The average heart transplant only lasts 12 years. That'll make me 43. Most people don't think heart disease could even happen to them by the time they're 43, let alone be considering a second transplant. And so, my new goal is I'm going to turn us into an opt-out donation country for organ donation. Right now, everybody has to say, yes, I will be an organ donor. And I would like for it to be the opposite way. I would like for people to have to, if it's against your religion or your personal belief or whatever, I would like for you to have to then advocate for yourself and say, no, I won't be an organ donor. And I understand that, to each his own, but 22 people die a day because they don't get the organ that they need. And I think that that's something that we can stop. I've devoted a lot of my time to volunteering and advocating and educating with the American Heart Association. And, you once told me it costs $50,000 to fund one researcher for 1 year. And last year, there were 26 researchers in the Kansas City metro area that didn't have funding. And what if one of them has the answer to take us from having the number 1 killer to the number 2? Mm-hmm. It's not worth missing it.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Sorry. Sorry. How are you sharing the truth with other people?
This little IV that I got a few months ago, nobody knew what they were getting into. Because I've gotten so many times, oh, are you diabetic? Is that your IV? Is that your insulin pump? And they have no idea what they've just asked. I have people apologize to me. Oh, I'm so sorry for asking. By all means, please ask. I write a blog on it. I have a blog that I call Grapefruits and Tattoos because those are 2 things I can't have after transplant. I can't eat grapefruit due to one of the medications I'll be taking, and I can't have a tattoo due to the rate of infection. So my blog is called Grapefruits and Tattoos. And I post it through social media, and I will literally share my story with a wall. Everybody needs to know. My 4-year-old can rattle off stats about heart disease in women and heart health and how to keep your heart healthy and the things you do and don't do. And bless you if you pick up a salt shaker at a table because she's going to let you have it. And so, I just tell everyone my story. It's what it is. It's what happened to me. It's the truth. People say, how can you tell people about that? And I'm like, it's like going to a test and having all the answers. Mm-hmm. I know the answers and I just want to give them away. I just want people to know what's going to happen, because if I tell, some random high schooler, well, she may end up being the cardiologist that sees my daughter down the line, or, that sees a woman that comes into the emergency room complaining with left arm pain and jaw pain as opposed to having the chest clenching Hollywood heart attack. And so you never know if that one person you told is going to be the one that saves a life somewhere or makes a difference. I go red for my daughter. I want to uncover the truth about heart disease because no one else should have to do this. So kind of the background to this, because the clip kind of shortens it up a little bit, but whenever, I'm having one of those rough days and I want to get up and I want to do this again and I want to, I want to eat right and I want to go to cardiac rehab, which, oh my gosh, you have all these things that you have to do. And sometimes it just gets tiring and you're done doing them. And then I look at my kids and I think about my daughter Marianne getting married, and I think about Dan getting to walk her down the aisle, and my son Will, jokingly nudging the love of her life, saying, the famous big brother, you hurt or I'll kill you. And I think of my parents being there, and that's a lot of hearts in that room. And if we don't do what we do, if we don't fundraise and advocate and educate, the number of hearts in that room will be fewer. And so I advocate for those happy, healthy hearts. And so her wedding is why.